Hi everyone, I'm Jay Fadden. Thank you so much for joining us today on This Is the Day. And Father Reed, we have a full program today.
We do, and a couple great books. Our great friend Jason Everett is back to tell us about a new collaborative effort, his and his wonderful wife, Kristalina, and I'm holding the book right here. You're going to hear more about that. And also, LeAnn Thieman is with us today, and she has this book and has a very interesting title, Jay, Chicken Soup for the Catholic Soul.
Kevin, what will we hear about in the news today?
Jay, the Pope once again calls for a suspension of fighting in Libya. The Pope also talked about the sacrament of confession to those gathered for a course by the Apostolic Penitentiary. And there's a new head of the Ukrainian Catholic Church. All those stories ahead in the news. Jay?
All that and much more right now on This Is the Day. Hello, hello, hello. I'm Jay Fadden. Thank you so much for joining us today on This Is the Day. So glad that you have tuned in. And I think you're going to be very glad you tuned in. We have a great program today. Joining me are my wonderful friends, Kevin Nelson, and of course, Father Reed. How are you on this fine afternoon?
I'm wonderful, as you have just said. You've described me as your wonderful friend along with Kevin. I appreciate that. I got to tell people a funny story. So I'm talking to Jay on the phone yesterday. And we knew that Jason was coming in, and we knew that LeAnn was coming in, and we're grateful for both of them, their presence here today. But he said, LeAnn's got a great book. He says it's chicken noodle soup for the Catholic soul. I says, Jay, I don't think there are any noodles in it.
You know, I knew you were going to tell that story. I was in the car, I was driving, and I get distracted easily these days.
Chicken noodle soup. So you added the noodles.
I did. Well, I love chicken noodle soup. Yeah. Hey, before I say anything else, I have to say happy birthday to a special person in my life.
Who's that?
My father is 75 years old.
Jimmy!
Today. Jimmy is 75 years old.
Big 75. Happy birthday, Jimmy.
Happy birthday to my father today, which is just, you know, it's a great thing.
He looks great for 75.
He does look great. Well, he keeps himself in shape, you know, walking and doing his thing. You know what else is interesting? So, I see our guests are here, and all of a sudden, who walks in? But John.
I know.
John walks in.
John Monahan, who's on the cover of the April edition of the Catholic TV Monthly. It's all about a great new show we have here on Catholic TV called Clear Voice. And John is the co-host along with Christine Caswell, and they're right there. This is coming to your mailbox real soon, and if it doesn't, do let us know, because we'll be glad to send it to you. At the end of the show, there'll be an address. Just drop us a little note, and we'll send it to you, not just this month, but every month thereafter, the Catholic TV Monthly.
And you know, we get a lot of mail here, and I was counting. We got mail from all over the country yesterday, because I actually leave a little list now as a new, because I like to see where the mail comes from. And
not just the mail, you know, you look at the website. We use Google Analytics to look at our website. Almost every day there are visitors from all 50 states and also around the world, even sometimes from Rome. And speaking of Rome, you know, we went to Rome recently, and we got around the city, Christian and ancient Rome, and we went to one church. It's not Jay's favorite church, but it's one of my favorites. And sorry, I'm just being honest. It's the Church of St. Paul outside the walls. And so let's take a little viaggio, a little trip to Rome right now, to the church, the Basilica of St. Paul outside the walls. Take a look. Back in Rome, everyone, I'm Father Reed. Ciao, everyone. Here we are outside the ancient walls of the city of Rome at the Basilica of St. Paul, fuori le mura, that is, outside the walls. This is one of the 5 major basilicas of Rome. You see, around the year 65, the Apostle Paul was sentenced to death, and because he was a Roman himself, he was taken outside the walls of Rome to be executed. He was beheaded, and he was buried. After his burial here, early Christians erected a shrine over the grave, and pilgrims would frequently visit that site to honor the great apostle to the Gentiles and the author of more than half of the New Testament. Now, like the Vatican, the first church on this site was built by the Emperor Constantine and consecrated in the year 324. In 386, Emperor Theodosius demolished that original church and began the construction of a much larger basilica. Pope Martin V entrusted that basilica to the Benedictine monks of the Congregation of Monte Cassino. The graceful cloisters of that monastery over here were erected between 1220 and 1241. Now, jumping ahead, in 1823, a great fire was started through the negligence of a workman who was repairing lead on the roof, and the entire ancient basilica was destroyed. Alone of all the churches in Rome, it had been preserved in its primitive character for over 1,400 years. However, people from all over the world contributed to its restoration. All that really remains of the medieval basilica is the 13th century Apse Mosaic, created by a Venetian artist. The basilica is the home of a long series of medallions which to this day depict all of the popes throughout history. There is a legend that when the empty spaces for the medallions run out, the world will end. Well, there are, I believe, 14 left, so we should be okay for a while. It's also important to note that in this basilica every year on the feast of the conversion of St. Paul, January 25th, the week of prayer for Christian unity solemnly begins here. As we pass through this vast neoclassical portico in front of the basilica, one cannot miss the imposing statue of the great apostle, Paul. St. Paul is recognized by the sword, a symbol of the martyrdom he suffered in this place, and, of course, the book, which reminds us of his inspired letters, which make up 1/3 of the Bible. The Basilica of St. Paul outside the walls. For now, ciao amici, ci vediamo presto.
And joining us now is author and speaker LeAnn Thieman. LeAnn, thanks so much for being with us.
My joy to be here.
We really appreciate it. And a special friend of ours brought you over.
Indeed. Father Bill Schmidt from St. Patrick's.
Do you know, I've known him for forever.
Is that right?
Yeah, we're not going to go over how long I've known him,
good.
but it's been for a while.
And he made my ordination and first Mass happen. I want to thank him because he was in my home parish when all that transpired. But enough of that.
All right.
More about you.
Well, tell us how you got involved with the Vietnam Orphan Year Lift. Let's just start with that.
Well, actually, it was back in the early 1970s, and I was a volunteer for an organization called Friends of Children of Vietnam. And there was just a handful of us young moms. Then we raised supplies and money to send to the war orphans. As a matter of fact, my basement was the Iowa chapter headquarters at the time. And so we collected supplies from hospitals, doctors' offices, grocery stores. Sent 5 tons of supplies to Vietnam in 3 years, this little handful of volunteers. And then they asked if I would escort 6 babies back to their adoptive homes in the United States.
Really?
But between the time I said yes and the time I got there, President Ford had okayed Operation Baby Lift. And when I got there, I was greeted with, "You won't help us take out 6 babies, you'll help us take out 300.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible?
Incredible. Incredible.
You know, I know that you don't mind that Jay added the noodles to the chicken soup, because I know you're almost known sometimes as the chicken soup lady.
That's right.
This is a wildly popular series, LeAnn, and why is that? What do people find in these books that helps them in their lives, in living their faith?
The truth.
The truth.
Oh. The truth is that I read about 2,000 stories for every book, and so you can imagine how wonderful it is to read true stories from people. And that's what the world is looking for today, is just positive, good, true stories. And there's so many out there that we don't always hear about. And each story has some message of hope in every Chicken Soup for the Soul story. And when you think about it, that's how we've shared all of our knowledge and all of our wisdom through all of the years. The Bible is true stories, and we're continuing to share great true stories today.
What has it meant for you in your life to read these inspiring stories?
Can you imagine? I've written 12 chicken soup books and read 2,000 stories for books. So I've read, what, 20, 30,000 true stories from people. And now, and after that book, from Chicken Soup for the Soul, it came all miracles. And then I wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul, a book of miracles. And now I'm writing Answered Prayer. So can you imagine how it has blessed me to over and over again read all of these true stories of faith?
And this week you're speaking to the wonderful people at a great parish, St. Patrick's in Stoneham. Father Bill Schmidt is the pastor there. And what is your message to people when you go out to a parish like you are this week? I'm sure you do this often. What message do you bring to them from these books, from your work, from all these miracle stories?
Well, the title of this book is very deliberately Chicken Soup for the Soul, Living Catholic Faith. And I think living can be used two different ways. I mean, it is a living faith. And what I call people to do is to grow even deeper and to live their Catholic faith. And I am so honored to be at St. Patrick's in Stoneham still tonight and tomorrow night, so people can still come.
What time?
7:30.
7:30 Eastern Standard Time?
Yes. Good. And I share stories from the book. People are surprised they laugh as much as they do, I think, during my presentations. But my whole premise is I think we have to be strong in mind, body, and in spirit in order to serve Him well. And that's my lesson to people, is to be strong in their physical, mental, and spiritual lives. And I think then we're better equipped to truly live our faith.
When you talk about being strong, especially in your faith, and we think about learning more about our faith, it's sometimes not easy. You know, we get people from different aspects who will say, well, you shouldn't do this, or you're doing this wrong. But yet, the more we learn about our faith, the more we love it. Have you found that as you've gone around and people read your books and learn about the faith and hear these stories, that they grow deeper in their faith?
Absolutely. And I'm so humbled when people tell me that happens from reading even this book, because there are such fabulous stories in there about the sacraments, that stops my heart. Some of the beautiful ones on Holy Saturday, and little kids making their first confession are funny stories, and old stories from the old church and people growing up with strict nuns, and modern stories of kids going to World Youth Day. It's just a blessing.
So for the next couple of nights, if people happen to be in this area, they can arrive there at St. Patrick's in Stoneham, and if they can squeeze themselves into a pew, they can hear you speak. But what if people want to get copies of this book or any one of the series? Is there a website? Is there a place people can go?
These books are in all of the bookstores, so that's really nice. But they can always get a signed copy if they want one from me on my website. It's my name, LeAnnThieman.com. And you can write me a little note there, and I can sign a copy. People give it a lot for the upcoming First Communions and weddings and all the great events in our lives.
You know, we're all called to evangelize, and I want to thank you, and I'm sure I'll say the same to Jason when he comes on here, for the work that you do, writing these books. This is absolutely a form of evangelization.
Thank you. You blessed me by saying so, and I'm humbled that I feel that I teased last night that this all started from me buying a dozen cupcakes to support the orphans of Vietnam, and how God took that little setting of me being at a bake sale one day and getting involved to change my life and to help me be able to do what I do today. I'm just so blessed that He picked me.
And you're using your gifts too, which is truly a wonderful lesson for all of us, because we all have gifts. God has blessed each one of us, and it's a matter of finding those gifts and using them for the good of the church and the world, and you certainly are doing that.
Well, thank you. Someone said to me once, you know, He's given you gifts and you have the responsibility to use them. And that really struck me. And I knew then I needed to develop these gifts and to use them the best I could to serve Him. So.
Keep writing.
Marvelous.
Thank you.
Keep writing and talking and getting
you.
out there.
And thank you for all that you do. This is fabulous.
You're welcome.
Well, you know who else has a lot of gifts? Kevin Nelson, who does the news here.
Wonderful. Let's hear from him.
Yeah, let's see what we always hear from him. That's part of the problem. Kevin, what's going on around the world in the Catholic faith?
All right, thanks, Jim. Father, hello, everyone. It is time to take a look at the news, and we begin from the Vatican. During an audience with participants attending a course sponsored by the Apostolic Penitentiary, Pope Benedict XVI said that the sacrament of confession can be a teaching moment for both priest and penitent. The Pope said that while penitents can discover grace and hope from God's love and forgiveness, priests hearing confession can be inspired to be more honest, humble, and transparent about their own sins. The Pope told those gathered that by hearing confession, a priest will visit the depths of the human heart, even its darker side, which can test the faith of priests just like it tests other people's faith. On the other hand, the Pope said it also can foster the certainty that evil never has the last word, and that God and His mercy make all things new. The Apostolic Penitentiary is the Vatican court that handles issues related to the sacrament of penance. In other news from the Vatican, speaking at his weekly blessing, Pope Benedict XVI appealed for a suspension of fighting in Libya and the immediate start of a serious dialogue aimed at restoring peace to the North African country. Rome Reports has more on the Angelus address.
During Sunday's Angelus, the Pope called for an end to the violence in Libya and North Africa. Benedict XVI stressed the importance of using all available means to achieve a peaceful and lasting solution.
Mentre elevo al Signore la mia preghiera per un ritorno alla concordia in Libia e nell'intera regione nordafricana, rivolgo un accurato appello agli organismi internazionali e a quanti hanno responsabilità politiche e militari per l'immediato avvio di un dialogo che sospenda l'uso delle armi.
The Pope also stressed the importance of personal prayer, especially during the season of Lent.
Gesù ci aspetta, specialmente in questo tempo di Quaresima, per parlare al mio cuore. Fermiamoci un momento in silenzio, nella nostra stanza, o in una chiesa, o in un luogo appartato. Ascoltiamo la sua voce che ci dice: se tu conoscessi il dono di Dio.
Benedict XVI explained that Jesus is thirsty for the faith of each person, and said that during the season of Lent, God expects each one to speak with their heart.
Jesuit Father Federico Lombardi, the Vatican spokesman, said the Vatican would send an observer to the International Conference on Libya scheduled for today in London. He said Archbishop Antonio Manini, the Apostolic Nuncio to Great Britain, would represent the Vatican at the one-day meeting which was convened to assess the Libyan intervention. And in news now from around the world, the new head of the Ukrainian Catholic Church was installed March 27th in Kiev, Ukraine. Archbishop Sviatoslav Shevchuk, who at 40 years old is the youngest bishop in the church, pledged to honor the legacy of the thousands of Ukrainian Catholics who died for their faith under communism. For more than 40 years, the Ukrainian Catholic Church was illegal in the Soviet Union. Officially, it did not exist at all. The new archbishop said that the death of hundreds of thousands of our laity, priests, monks, and nuns led by our bishops was a death on the cross and therefore a giver of life. The archbishop was elected during a 5-day synod of bishops, and his election was confirmed by Pope Benedict XVI on March 25th. The Ukrainian Catholic Church is the largest of the Eastern churches in full communion with Rome, and it is pivotal in ecumenical relations. And finally, in news now from around the country, new Los Angeles Archbishop Jose Gomez experienced his first religious education congress in Anaheim, California, and was received by an enthusiastic crowd. More than 40,000 people, including more than 15,000 at Youth Day, attended the March 18th through the 20th Congress at the Anaheim Convention Center, representing nearly every U.S. state and nearly every continent in the world. Archbishop Gomez told the assembly at the close of the event that this was a great moment for conversion of heart in this Lenten season. For once we have conversions, he said, we can bring the good news to the people of God. Sister Edith Pendergrass, director of the Los Angeles Archdiocesan Office of Religious Education, told the assembly that as teachers and leaders, they know the church exists to evangelize. She said they are all challenged to lead the people to a new vision, calling them to have faith and to trust. The theme of this year's gathering was Hold Firm, Trust. Well, that is all the information we have for you on this Tuesday, March 29, 2011. We go back over to Jay and Father Reed with more of This Is the Day.
Kevin, thank you very much. Joining us now is Jason Everett, who has been here before, but I wasn't here last time, so I missed you last time you were here.
Sorry about that.
That's my fault.
Yeah.
I wish I was here. Well, he's a Catholic speaker and author, and as I said, you know, I wish I was here the last time, but I'm here this time.
Yeah.
So I'm so happy to be here, because I've heard a lot about you now. Yeah, everyone knows you.
I don't know about that.
Yeah. Now, everyone knows Kevin, too, but they really know you.
No.
So we appreciate you being here.
It's a
Jason,
pleasure to be on.
The blinks you recorded here at Catholic TV last time you were here are really popular. Do you think people are hungry for that message of chastity?
They absolutely are. A couple weeks ago, I was speaking in Texas, and just to show you the hunger that the kids have for it, a girl came up after the talk, and she was in a terrible abusive relationship with her boyfriend, and she broke off her necklace, and she said, "This is from him. I don't want it anymore." And I'm like, "Girl, you need to break up with him." And she went out in the hallway. She came back to me skipping. She gave me a huge hug and a high five, and she said, "I dumped him." And he said, "Where's your necklace?" And she said, "I gave it to the chastity guy." And he's like, "What is he going to do with it?" And she said, "He's going to destroy it." But just see, it's like this is the message of the gospel, to proclaim liberty to the captives and set the prisoners free. Whether it's an abusive relationship or addiction to pornography, it's good news, and the young people want it.
Freedom. It's about freedom.
Yeah.
You know, people think that to be free means you can do everything you want, but it's really not that. To be free is to make a good choice.
Yeah, to be free to love. And so long as I'm constrained by my own lusts, I'm not free to make a gift of myself, and I'll never find authentic joy. So I find the young people all around the world are hungry for it.
Now, Jason, you found in Kristalina, your lovely wife, your soulmate, and you didn't lose your soul in doing it. And I noticed that that is, in fact, the title of this great book. What made you, the two of you, decide to write this?
Yeah, the How to Find Your Soulmate Without Losing Your Soul is the fruit of, after these chastity talks, the students come up and have all these questions for us. We say, if you want to hang out, we'll be here for you. And we gave that invitation at a high school in New York, and the students formed a line 7 hours long. And they would come up, I'm struggling with this and with that, and we noticed this pattern of struggles that single women were having, whether they were 13 or 35, going through so much of the same stuff. And we said, we need to make a manual just for the single woman in today's world to navigate through these single years without losing their faith, their dignity, and to ask them the challenging questions like, look, are you just a little date? Are you a soulmate? To set the standards high and give them permission to take care of themselves for once. So this is really the fruit of all those conversations we've had with girls to help them live a pure life and hopefully find the man that God has planned for them.
And you talk about conversations. I'm a dad. I have 3 children. We were talking about this a little bit before. And I have a daughter.
Yeah.
How difficult is it out there today for young women?
It's rough, without question. And, you know, big complaints we got, where are all these good guys? You know, there's no good guys here. But the fact is, there are good men. And they ask me, well, where are the modest girls? Because the girls in my school, they don't dress modestly, they don't dance modestly, and you're telling me they want us to be gentlemen? And so what we're encouraging the young women to do is to realize, historically, women have been the gatekeepers of morality, that the men will go as high as the woman sets the bar. And culturally, if the bar is low, you're going to have a low quality of men. But if women as a culture can set that bar high and say, look, if you cannot be a gentleman, then you will not enjoy the company of a woman. To set the standard high, you'll find the men can rise up to meet that challenge. They will be inspired to become worthy of her. But until a girl's convinced of her own dignity, she's certainly not going to be able to convey that to a man. So this book is about teaching them their dignity so they can receive it from others too. And
the book offers 21 strategies for women to guide them. Now, my question to you is, these strategies, do they work for guys too?
No, they do. In fact, as soon as the book came out, a guy came to me and he said, oh, I bought it. And I'm like, it's for girls. And he said, oh, I know, but I wanted to understand girls. And he said, not only do I understand them better now, but a lot of these strategies apply to us. Like the first chapter is no missionary dating. Like, don't date people hoping to fix them and change them and rescue them. That's not the purpose of dating, but rather to find a spouse. And so our first chapter goes through the top 10 guys to avoid, and plenty of them would apply to guys dating girls as well.
Now, I noticed, too, you gave me 2 copies. There's a hardcover and a softcover. What's the point of that?
Yeah, the hardcover is more like for an individual. If you have a daughter in college or high school, you give her that one. Okay. The softcover we're making available as an evangelization tool where you can buy them a box at a time for $2 a piece. So basically for 40 books, $80, and then give them out in the dorm, give them out in the high school classroom, the youth group, so that way we know the youth ministers don't have a huge budget, so we want to meet them where they're at and give them this evangelization tool, and there's an online study guide where they can get the girls together, give them each their $2 book, study this, and grow in their faith.
You are running up against a lot of different things, Jason, in your work. Of course, we have movies today, we have the music, we have TV programs, we have the advertisement. Everything is directed towards sex and what people really should not be doing. How do you counteract that?
It's remarkably easy because the human heart is made for love and the mind is made for truth. Chastity offers them the both. And the people who engage in this lifestyle of one-night stands and hookups and friends with benefits, they're often the easiest audience because they know they're not satisfied. I mean, I've spoken at correctional facilities for prostitutes and gang members and drug addicts, all teenage girls, and you can hear a pin drop for an hour and a half. They're hungry for this. They're looking for love, and maybe they didn't find it at home. Maybe they never had a dad to give them love. And then you show them that it's still out there, and they deserve it regardless of the past. You'll find they go for it.
So is it all about education, too, in a sense, where some of these people that you're talking to, they've never been exposed to this type of teaching, and when they hear it, they say, wait a second, I am a person of dignity. Is that what it comes down to?
Yeah, last time I was here in Boston, I spoke to college students, and a girl came up to me, she's probably 23, and she said, I've never heard this my entire life. And how different high school and college would have been if someone taught them these basic principles early on.
And where can people hear more about this message, find more about these books, and actually perhaps get a box for their youth ministry program or religious ed program?
Well, my general website is chastity.com, but to get these books, you're going to want to go to howtofindyoursoulmate.com. So www.howtofindyoursoulmate.com. There you can get the study guide, buy the hardcover if you want for your daughter or sister or granddaughter, and then the box of them if you want. The button there is to get that as well.
And how does the Catholic Church play in all of this because young people today, I think they're thirsting to learn more about their faith. How does the Catholic Church play into helping them form their lives?
Well, the Catholic Church has given us such a wealth of teaching in human sexuality. Unfortunately, it might be encyclicals or, Vatican documents, and what we want to do in these books is take this wisdom of John Paul the Great and these other brilliant minds of the Church and melt it down without watering it down. And this book in particular, we wrote to a Christian audience instead of anything particularly Catholic, so that way we could reach out to our evangelical brothers and sisters. And so there's nothing in there, obviously, that would contradict the Catholic faith because we're devout Catholics, but we wanted to reach as many girls as possible with the message.
Well, this has been great to have you. We're really grateful that you've taken the time. I know you're busy, we know you're around and about, but the fact that you come back and visit us and take the time to talk to our audience, it's something that we're very grateful for.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And I would just ask your audience's prayers for every girl who ever reads the book.
Absolutely. And by the way, I think you're going to be on our show Clear Voice too, aren't you?
Yes, looking forward to that.
See, you come here and we get you to do blanks, we get you to do Clear Voice, we're going to get you to do everything. Because, as I had said to LeAnn before, thank you so much for what you do, for evangelizing, for going out there, talking to young people, because that's a segment of the population we really need to reach.
Yeah, well, my ministry, I think, is more God's gift to me than mine to him. I'm just doing what I ought to do. And he just knew I couldn't handle a real job anyway, so he gave me this one. But
listen,
it's a blessing. It's a real blessing for me.
Howtofindyoursoulmate.com.
Howtofindyoursoulmate.com.
All right, thank you so much, Jason.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And thank you for being with us today on This Is the Day. We hope you've enjoyed the program. We'd like to thank LeAnn and Jason for being with us, of course, Kevin Nelson, and especially we'd like to thank you for all your affirmation and support of whatever Catholic television station you are watching this on, and whatever country you're watching this on right now. You make a difference in people's lives by being an example yourself, and know that all of you are in our thoughts and in our prayers.
And what a wonderful opportunity this has been for us to share these past 28 minutes together, to have Jason with us and LeAnn and all of you. And as we continue the great opportunity of Lent, these 40 days that God offers us to deepen our relationship, our friendship with Him, may God bless you and all those whom you love. The Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Thanks so much for joining us all here in the Catholic TV living room. We love coming into yours. Until next time, everyone, God bless and have a great rest of the day and night.
Nice job.